Welcome to Megapath Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today let's talk about Daryl and Dwight coming face to face once he is free. Now, this was actually a discussion I wanted to do in the previous video. I got so excited about the possibilities that the war coming up in the end of Season 7 and Season 8 is going to be bigger than we had anticipated, and it's looking like that might just be the case. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of speculation. We stay spoiler free, so if you didn't check out the video prior to this one, check that one out. And I will say that at the end of the video, I did mention the moderators who are helping me on the comment section here and on the Facebook page did say that there's no spoilers out for the boots. Now, that was my mistake. I meant for the guy that Daryl is punching. I got that mixed up somehow, but apparently there are some spoilers, or a little bit of spoilers, about who could the boots belong to potentially. If you do know, we don't want to know. We don't want the facts. We're not asking for that information. We all have keyboards. We all have brains. We could just simply type in the spoiler site and go look ourselves. Spoiler sites are nothing new, so don't be one of those guys. The mods will just delete your comment anyhow once they see it. So with that said, let's dive right into this, and there's no way to continue without comic book spoilers, at least a little bit. So here's your warning for comic book spoilers. Now, we do know in the preview we got for the coming second half of Season 7, coming in February 12th, I believe, is the date. We saw Rick finally gets to meet King Ezekiel. We saw him in the seating area of the theater where he first met Carol. And in the comic book at this point in time, Rick actually met Dwight. Dwight comes out from behind a curtain. Now, I got this sneaking suspicion that they might actually set this up to have Dwight there. Now, I kind of feel like this is 50-50. Right now, there's something that's just not right, and I just don't feel like they're going to have Dwight pop up at this moment. But for the sake of this discussion, and because of the matches, I think the matches are going to play an important role in this moment. Let's just say Rick shows up at the kingdom, he gives his speech to King Ezekiel, and Ezekiel, similar to the comic book, is like, you know what, this has to be destiny, it has to be fate, whatever he says, because you're not the only visitor that came to see me today about this topic. And then Dwight comes out from behind the curtain, and Daryl goes nuts. Daryl wants to kill him on the spot. I mean, Rick is even like, yeah, let's do this. We're going to kill him. And we do know that Ezekiel, he said this before, I think, when Carol met him, that he is not a fan of violence. He might have said that before, but it's definitely in the comics, so I don't know. I feel like he said that in episode 3, but regardless, Ezekiel is like, no, I let him pass on my land. You can't touch him. Whoop-de-whoop. So they're flipping out, and that is when Dwight mentions, Daryl, how did you get out? You know what I'm saying? How do you think you got out? Because I'm the one who left the note with the match, with the key. And again, I see a lot of fans saying that the match was to burn the note, like it's some James Bond type shit, you know what I mean? And maybe you're right, but if it's a successful, if you flee successfully, you don't need to burn the damn note. No one's ever going to see that anyway. So it leaves me wondering, what is the match for? Maybe he could see a piece of the matchbook sticking out at the door, and that's what door he knew to leave from. We don't know what it looked like on his side, but I do feel like the match is more of a symbol. It's more of proof that Dwight needs to show Daryl that he's the one who actually let him free. And I do feel like that is probably the only thing that's going to keep Daryl and Rick from killing Dwight on the spot at that moment. And they have built up Dwight enough to be such a shit character. Not a shit character, but a shitty person in this world that a lot of fans are still going to question. They're not going to make it so black and white. They'll still question, well, what really is this guy's motives? What does he really want? And I think they got a good foundation there to leave it uncertain. And I love that, because in the comic, it was very uncertain. It was uncertain for a long time, right up until the end. You know what I mean? Right up until the end, I was still thinking, this Dwight, there's something about him, I don't trust him. He's gonna pull something shitty. And they did something really good with his story. I really like comic Dwight. He is up there on my list of one of my more favorite, more interesting characters. And he did do dirt, before. He did shitty things. On a TV show, they put him in more situations to be a jerk. You know what I mean? An unforgivable jerk in some aspects. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play that off. I feel like the only way is to have Dwight admit it. Be like, listen, I don't know what happened. There was a moment there where I just died. Like, I didn't care if I was mean to anyone, rude to anyone. If they don't have him admit that, I feel like they're gonna have a hard time with the fans and winning them over. His story might be interesting, but you need to win the fans over when it comes to characters who are big assholes like that. So to wrap this up, I'm going to come back around full circle. I do believe the matches, whatever they had set up, that is going to be the proof, because only one person knows about it, which is Daryl. So if Dwight mentions that, either somebody in Daryl's group, his close, confidential, trusted soldiers that he's with, his survivors, they didn't tell Dwight about it. You know what I'm saying? Jesus didn't tell Dwight about it, so there's no other way he would know unless he was the one who actually freed Daryl or allowed Daryl to leave. You know what I mean? So that'll be interesting, and I think that's the only thing that will keep him alive for the meantime. But I still want to see Daryl and Dwight not the best of buddies immediately. I still want to see them acting like assholes towards each other. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, Dwight isn't going to feed Daryl any more dog food, but at least they're not going to be so friendly. They could work together, but they don't got to be best buds. You know what I mean? With that said, I'd like to hear your thoughts, theories, opinions, and suggestions. You can go ahead and put them in the comment box and check out the previous video. I'll put a link up on the screen and another link down in that video description. I'm done talking. It's your turn.
Subscribe now.